So without further ado, what we're going to talk about today, first of all, on behalf of Dalhousie University, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Richard Flores on here to speak on behalf of Dal. We have Dr. Ned Allen from Lockheed Martin here to speak on behalf of Lockheed Martin, obviously. My friend Stephen Duff from Innovacorp, who just rang the bell for the TSX opening at the Nova Scotia Community College and booted it over here to be back here in time for this, so thank you, Stephen, for making it. And probably most importantly, Jordan Kyriakides, the CEO and founder of QRA. So without further ado, I'll invite Dr. Richard Flores on to take the podium. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and thank you all for being here today. I'm really pleased to see everyone here to celebrate this partnership between Dow, Lockheed Martin, and the team at QRA. You know, great universities, all great universities have three elements to their mission. Teaching and learning, that dissemination of knowledge. Research, scholarly and artistic work, that development of new knowledge. And then the service component, where we act as catalysts for the social and the cultural and economic development of our communities. And this announcement is really a great example of that third element of our mission. The role of the university as a catalyst, both as a catalyst in startup companies, so with one of our professors of physics, Jordan Kyriakides, launching QRA, that, as you'll learn, half of its employees are Dal students, but also that they are a partner with Lockheed Martin, who themselves are a great partner to Irving Shipbuilding, who is one of the key employers and key industries in this region. So it's a way that the university is bringing its talent to work together with important other players and industry players in the region. 8 years ago, Dow and Lockheed Martin announced a $2 million research agreement in quantum physics and computing. And it was through Dell's partnership with Lockheed that QRA, the promising young technology company that you're going to hear about today, emerged. So as I said, we take great pride at Dell in our work with industry. We see it as a fundamental piece of our mission. And in fact, if you look at the U15, which is the name for the 15 research-intensive universities across Canada, which Dell is one, Dell actually ranks third for industry-sponsored research. Faculty, we're actually head of the University of Waterloo. It surprises many people. And in fact, in Nova Scotia, we're proud to be part of a network of 10 universities. But again, when you look at the industry-sponsored research done at universities, 98% of it happens at Dell. So we both have an important role to play, an important responsibility in supporting the development of the economy in this region. We're also the anchor member of the Springboard Atlantic Network, whose mandate is to help commercialize university technologies like the one we are celebrating here today. And it's through those kind of partnerships that we can translate our research into innovation, taking what happens in the lab and in the field and building it into new companies, new products, or new services that create jobs, that advance our standard of living and that benefit our communities. Now, Dr. Jordan Kyriakides is QRA's CEO, co-founder, and a faculty member in Dell's Department of Physics and Atmospheric Science. And he has been able to translate the research in his lab into cutting-edge computing products, thanks to the support of Lockheed Martin. These software products, including one that was just released last week, are capable of detecting flaws in even the most complex of engineering projects and products early in the design phase. So you can imagine the applications and the implications of this going forward. As we think about artificial intelligence and machine learning, our systems become more and more complex. Our mechanical systems become more and more complex. And so the very task of identifying errors, defining errors in those systems is an incredible opportunity and challenge, and one that QRA is so positioned to address head on. So what's particularly exciting for me about QRA is that potential global impact of its products. When you think about the evolution of systems, the evolution of both software and hardware systems, any engineering firm in the world involved in software-driven machines or in next-generation complex systems stands to benefit from QRA's products and its technologies and its people. So the potential world leader here, Jordan, no pressure. QRA's impact, of course, stretches beyond its innovative products. The company has doubled in size each year since its founding, just 3 years ago, and it currently employs 60 people out of its offices on Quinpool Road in Halifax. I visited those offices. You must be kind of bursting at the seams now, Jordan. I think the 60 is pretty full. And more than half of those employees are Dow graduates. Again, at its core, QRA is a great example of how Dow researchers can turn innovative ideas and research into economic opportunity. So I'd like to wrap up my remarks by extending my thanks to Jordan and his team at QRA, as well as to Lockheed Martin and everyone else who's been involved in this groundbreaking project along the way and helped to build its future success. The results are just another example of how powerful partnerships can be between university, between industry and government, in fostering innovative ways to tackle global problems and creating economic opportunity for our communities. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Richard. I'll still have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Dr. Allen here. For those who don't know, Ned, he is a serial entrepreneur, a successful scientist in his own right, and the only person I've ever met that owned and operated a commercial airline. So, Ned.
Well, it's a great honor for me to be here, and I'm very proud of what we and Dr. Kyriakides have been able to accomplish here in Halifax. And I only wanted to make 3 points. First of all, the problem that Dr. Kyriakides is dealing with in eliminating errors from the software control systems of cyber physical systems is the single most important problem in engineering in the 21st century. Most people don't realize that eliminating all errors from computer control systems is actually impossible. And it's been proven mathematically that it's impossible. So what the objective is to reduce the probability of error down below certain probabilistic limits. And they have made tremendous progress in being able to do this at QRA. And they've been working very closely with our controls group out of Fort Worth, Texas over the years. And this project, as was pointed out, is actually 10 years old now. I started this at the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in 2006 or end of 2005. I met Dr. Kyriakides December 10th, I think it was, in 2007. And we've been working on this since then. And it's just been an amazing experience that he has made such tremendous progress. And then I want to also say that Jordan and I could not have done this without the support of the institution of Dalhousie and the institution of Innovacorp, the institution of Canada's Canadian industry group and whatnot that helped us structure the financing for this project. Forget that technology development requires money, and so I just wanted to express my gratitude to Industry Canada and Dalhousie and Innovacorp and others. I'm sure I forgot to mention some, but the institutional setting in Canada is really structured to promote innovation, and we're very grateful for that. And then, of course, I want to express my thanks to QRA and to Jordan Kyriakides in particular for sticking with me for all these years. And the project has had lots of ups and downs and still has a ways to go in terms of developing more products. The basic flagship product has been developed and is in use in our Fort Worth offices, our aeronautical company in Texas, and has been in use there for more than a year, and it needs to develop more. And so we're going to continue developing the program with Dr. Kyriakides and QRA and DAL. And for all these things, we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. And I now ask Stephen Duff, President and CEO of Innovacorp, to join us for podium and make some comments, please.
much, Stephen, and good morning, everyone. A very exciting morning here in Halifax and in Nova Scotia. I want to thank everyone here for the opportunity to share in the celebration of this important milestone for Jordan, Lockheed, and the QRA team. Innovacorp has proudly supported and continues to support QRA as it gains market traction, delivering real value to real customers with real problems by solving their sophisticated design systems. In fact, our relationship with QRA very much overlaps with Jordan's work here at Dal. Our initial contact came through a few years ago through the Early Stage Commercialization Fund. That's a competition that's designed specifically to advance university research to the point of commercialization. The QRA team wisely realized early on that finding a really challenging customer with an enormous problem that needs solving is really the fuel that fires a startup. Enter Lockheed Martin. Indeed, the enduring relationship between Lockheed and QRA was one of the prime motivators for Innovacorp to further support the company through a $1 million seed investment in 2015 through the Nova Scotia First Fund. The Nova Scotia First Fund, briefly, is Innovacorp's early stage venture capital fund. And according to the Canadian Venture Capital Association, by the way, a little factoid, the Nova Scotia First Fund was the 4th most active government-backed venture capital fund in Canada last year. We consummated 18 deals in 17 companies, so it's our busiest year ever. We're currently proud to count 45 Nova Scotia startups in our active investment portfolio. I haven't checked in with the office yet this morning, so that may not be current. But I would be also remiss if I didn't mention Innovacorp's support to QRA's board of directors through the expertise and industry experience of our own Don Unlow. So it may sound a bit cliche, but I look at the QRA story as really a poster child for how a startup-friendly ecosystem should work to help founders succeed. Here are the ingredients. Deep and disruptive technology emerging from our universities. Sources of non-dilutive funds to advance research to the point of commercialization. Intellectual property offices that are motivated to facilitate commercialization. Entrepreneurially driven founders with a thirst for finding early customers that have a problem worth solving. Access to early stage venture capital with the ability to leverage co-investors and expertise. And established anchor companies that proactively seek out startups as part of their own innovation agenda. Finally, access to the kind of talent needed to build great companies here in Nova Scotia. QRA has found all of those ingredients right here, and the proof is in the pudding. Jordan, Dean, congratulations on these significant milestones, and on behalf of everyone at Innovacorp, I would like to wish you every future success.
Thank you, Stephen. And last but not least, the reason we're all here today, Jordan.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you for hosting this, and thanks for all the kind words, Ned and Stephen and Richard. I thought I would tell you a bit of a story of how we got to where we are now. First, say as a prelude to that story, let me first mention that a few years ago, I was in Washington. And I was having dinner with Ned Allen. He told me something that I'll never forget. He turns to me and he says, "Jordan, if we don't solve this problem, we'll soon have to give our planes away for free and just sell service contracts." Feeling it was getting too expensive. In fact, these systems planes, trains, and automobiles, but even things like wearable technologies now. These systems are becoming so complex, as Richard mentioned. Got it all right. Excellent. These systems are becoming so complex that the interaction between components are so numerous and so rich that the traditional methods of analysis just are simply not up to the task. In physics, we've had decades of experience building sophisticated mathematical tools to predict physical systems that are strongly correlated, where every piece is actually interacting with and depends on every other piece in the system. And so once you start looking at these engineered systems with the physicist's eye and as a natural physical system, you can start to begin to apply some of the physics techniques to really make progress in solving these engineering design problems. QRA has its origins really in theoretical quantum physics. The first time I met Ned Allen was at Dow back in December 2007. He came to listen to several researchers speak in order to better understand what Dow was doing. He had some ideas in quantum computing, and he wondered if there was any synergy with any local researchers. I listened to him speak, and frankly, I thought what he was talking about was the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I wondered, what the hell did I get myself into in this meeting? I remember saying I thought there was zero chance that what he said could actually work. He disagreed. We had a conversation, and by the end, a few weeks later, we had the makings of a project that I thought would definitively prove him wrong. I was expecting, I'd get a new supercomputer out of it. I would fund a graduate student, and we'd tie a bow around it 8 to 12 months later, and that would be the end of that. That was 10 years ago. What instead happened was a wild roller coaster ride that was stranger, more exhilarating, and sometimes more frustrating than I could ever have imagined. But of course, we were only here because so many people and organizations helped us along the way. First and foremost, Ned Allen deserves credit. Other than myself, Ned was with this project from the very first day it was initiated, actually even before the very first day, until today. It was really Ned who taught me what entrepreneurship really was, and also how to look at problems and how to work a deal from a very high level so that you keep the big picture in mind, and that you can just really keep your feet moving towards the direction you know is the right direction to go in. And that was really, really important. Ned also taught me that it is oftentimes better to ask for forgiveness than permissions. And so I've learned a tremendous amount from him, and I really think he's a remarkable person. So thank you, Ned, very much. From the very beginning of the QRA portion of this project until today, it was with me this whole time. It was Dean Saltis, my co-founder. Where is he? Here. Oh, there he is. Dean is someone who is impossible not to like. You hear the stories coming out of him from discussing software development with Bill Gates, hanging out with Donald Knuth and Sir Tony Hoare, writing a best-selling programming book, and on and on. You realize after you spend time with him that he has great depth. He has depth that very few people in the industry have, not just locally, but actually in the world. We have great trust together, great debates, and he is someone I rely on to build what needs to be built, including, very importantly, a world-class, truly world-class technical team, a large part from Dow students. So thank you, Dean. The commercialization phase of our work began soon after meeting and working closely, as Ned mentioned, with actual aerospace engineers. In particular, the group led by Greg Talent down in Fort Worth. It included Peter Stanfield, Chris Elliott, and Todd Belote. I remember the first meeting I had with Peter and Greg. They rambled on and on with slides after slide, with acronym after acronym, and I just was sitting there nodding sagely, giving my best professor's face. That evening, I wrote everything down. That evening, I would go to my hotel room and Google all the acronyms they were using to try to figure out what it was they were talking about. The friendship that was forged from that initial meeting was really critical in us determining that we could actually build a commercially viable tool that actually would solve serious problems. And it was at that point that we started to really consider the entrepreneurial route. It was around that stage, about halfway through the project, where we had to make a decision. We can either choose to license the technology or to develop it ourselves. We decided to develop the technology ourselves, and thus began the latest and most difficult part of our journey, and ultimately the most satisfying, and that journey is still being written today. During this process, I learned a great deal about how true innovation and real entrepreneurship ought to be done. Innovation is really about leadership. To innovate, you do need to disrupt things, and you do need to be a bit of a maverick, and you do need to break the rules. It's crucial. It's not just doing new research in conventional ways, but it's about doing new things in new ways. And Richard mentioned this in his remarks, that it's not just commercialization, it's also cultural and social innovation as well. It's all of it together. Successful companies, for example, innovate on their business model as much as on the technology. Successful organizations innovate in the way they organize themselves and in the way they interact with the society around them. It's much more general thing than just commercialization. That's only a small piece of it. It's building new organizations and creating new ways to build new organizations. I credit Mike Kirkup for showing me all this. The many long discussions we've had really helped to clarify my thoughts on this matter. And if it wasn't for Mike Kirkup in the early days, especially during the negotiations of the intellectual property, if it wasn't for Mike Kirkup being with us at that point, I really doubt that QRA would ever have become the independent, cash flow positive entity that has been throughout its entire existence. So thank you, Mike. Although we've been cash flow positive throughout our existence, we did receive tremendous government support, especially from ACOA, Jeff Mullen, Kathy Williams, and Dina Kalogeropoulos. They were very absolutely essential in getting us on our feet and guiding our business plan into something that was sustainable, realistic, and growth-oriented. ACOA really is a very, very special organization, and the group here in Halifax, I think, is the best of the best. They truly are very special, and I'm very thankful and grateful for the assistance and guidance they have provided us and will continue to provide us. So we spun out of the university, we acquired complete ownership of all of our relevant IP, we bootstrapped our way to revenue, and received substantial assistance from ACOA. Our technology is top rate, but really technology companies rarely fail because of the technology. Technology companies fail, like any company, because they run out of money, but they run out of money because they fail to build the business around the technology, and that's critical. So building our business around the technology was the next phase of our evolution. And for that, we needed investment and more experience on our team. So a while ago, as Stephen mentioned, I had been introduced to Dawn Umla of Innovacorp, and she was the one who really gave me advice, because I was just some theoretical quantum physicist. What the hell did I know about starting companies? And so I went to her for advice. Luckily, Dawn and I hit it off fantastically right from the start, and it was really she who helped us build out the investment case, taught us how to present ourselves, and how to really think about the structure of the team, our value proposition, and how we can really make a mark in the world. I'm very happy to still have Dawn and Innovacorp as such close partners. So thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Innovacorp. Around this time, I'm almost done. Around this time, we started having people actually quit their jobs and join QRA full-time. And it started feeling real, including the sleepless nights, knowing that Dean and I were no longer responsible for our own mortgages, but also that of our team as well. It was around this time, during our initial growth, on the one hand, trying to service our contracts, on the other hand, negotiating our equity investment, and on the third hand, managing a full work at Dow. It was around when all this was going on that Mike introduced me to someone named Alex McCallum as possibly someone who could replace him on our team, because it was clear we needed someone here locally. So I called Alex up, and I don't really think I ever formed such an immediate and close bond with anyone else in my life before. The first conversation we ever had was well over an hour long. The second one was multiple hours long, and by the third conversation, we were talking about how he would transition out of his senior role in one of the hottest startups in the Kitchener-Waterloo area and move out east with his partner Hope and their two young boys. More sleepless nights for me, but also very exciting days at that time as well. And I think it was really when Alex joined our team that we really became a a much more complete and well-rounded company. The business side of our house really took shape and complemented beautifully the technical side, which was led by Dean. So together with Dean and Alex, we've doubled the size of our company for 3 years in a row. Year 4 looks like it will be the same. We've launched a second product, which is gaining traction day by day, and we've moved into adjacent markets. We are truly supported by a spectacular team that is absolutely world-class. It keeps us on our toes. It drives us crazy sometimes, but it also drives us relentlessly forward all the time. And lastly, I just want to stress that this road is, well, stressful. 65-hour weeks are common. People will tell you that what you're doing is wrong, it's stupid, it's bound to fail, it's unfair to your coworkers, and actually much of that is true. Failure happens again and again and again. It puts a strain on your relationship. It asks a lot, unfairly so, of the people you love, and it's not easy. You've seen by all the people I've mentioned that a support system is just absolutely mandatory, but there is absolutely no question at all in my mind that the most important person enabling me to walk this path is my partner, Paula. She has been more accommodating than is reasonable to expect. We have 3 beautiful children, Lyra, Ella, and Maseo, whose beauty and well-roundedness really are completely due to Paula. So thank you. If not for your care, your love, and your support, this whole thing would have fallen in truly epic fashion years and years ago. This whole thing might still end in epic failure, but now our eyes are wide open. Now we can see storms coming from miles away. So far, so good, but this is only the beginning. Fasten your seatbelts, and thank you for coming out and spending some time with us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. That was absolutely fantastic. There's a common theme amongst all 4 speakers today, and that's the discussion around the evolving and emerging innovation ecosystem in Halifax and Nova Scotia. All of us are critical members of that, and it's important to remember that it takes a number of organizations to be able to support an organization like QRA. So to all of the members of the ecosystem who are here today, thank you very much for attending. To that end, I'd also like to recognize Kevin Dunn from our office, who helped manage this file on our behalf, working very closely with Ned Allen and Jordan and Lockheed Martin in general. And this ends the formal portion of our program. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate your presence today and for this great celebration. There is networking outside. There's some refreshments, so please stick around for as long as you like. And once again, thanks for coming this morning.